So a couple of years ago, a certain game came out from Ubisoft Massive called Avatar: Frontiers of
Oh yeah.
Pandora, and we instantly lauded it as well. I think it got Graphics of the Year
Oh
for
yeah, wow.
that particular year. Astonishing looking game, still looks brilliant today, and some might say that it actually looks even better because a new patch has arrived that updates the game. I think there's a third-person mode that's now available. But Alex, you've been looking at some more technological changes that have happened, and you're here to report.
Yeah, this is funny because I looked at the patch notes when this came out, and they said they updated to DLSS 4 in the patch notes. That was it. And I thought like, oh, they switched over to transformer model. I didn't realize that meant they added in frame gen, multi-frame gen, and DLSS ray reconstruction. That's quite a big update that I think just saying you support DLSS 4 now doesn't really communicate in a little press brief. So that excited me. My excitement was dampened heavily though when I loaded it up. And you'll just see I'll just send this footage to Oliver. I didn't send it to you guys, but man, it runs like crap when I initially loaded up on an RTX 5080.
Oh no.
Which was in the PC. And yeah, it just like, I would look at water, it would be at 20 FPS. I'd look at things that weren't water, it'd be at 60 FPS. 4K DLSS performance mode. It just didn't have any consistent performance that really made sense. And I knew it probably wasn't the way it was supposed to be because we've seen this engine running ray reconstruction before in Star Wars Outlaws, and I presumed something wasn't right. Lo and behold, yesterday evening after making a bunch of recordings, I was notified of a patch, and that patch definitely fixed things up. It wasn't just broken on that level, but like these left and right here, you can see on the left-hand side is the launch patch of this update of the game with Fire and Ash DLC, etc. And it's like 20 FPS while I'm looking at the water here on the RTX 5080. On the right-hand side, it's running at a full 60. This is using the unobtainium settings. And you'll also notice that the water on the left is flickering heavily, even at that low frame rate.
Yeah, I see
That's
it.
because anything below the water level, there's like lighting below water. And for some reason, the denoiser wouldn't work with that. It would just flicker crazy. That's all gone now. And now I can actually show some other footage of what it really brings to the table. So here I'm showing the game at high settings, quite purposefully, because ray reconstruction is good at taking low resolution inputs and making them look more high res. And here, like right when you get out that like little great opening to the Pandora for the first time, left-hand side, the original denoiser, right-hand side, ray reconstruction, you can see that the water on the ground has a whole lot less flickering on it, and it's a lot more stable. And you can see the coherent detail of the wind pushing its surface a lot better rather than just kind of being ghosty and noisy. And that's probably the biggest deal with this is just noise suppression and increasing specular reflections on water to look a lot better. Like here up close, you can see that on the left, it's really ghosty and still noisy, and it almost looks low frame rate because the ghosting happening within itself, that's actually 60 FPS. But on the right-hand side, you can actually see like, oh, the water surface has ripples in it from the wind across its surface. And also the reflections you see don't look like weirdly dull and ghosty. They just look nice and crisp. I've showed a couple other scenes of that I captured. Another thing that it does is really good noise suppression for like specular lighting when it's raining, or not when it's raining, just in general, because here it wasn't actually raining. But and when the lower settings are on high, like we see here on the left, underneath these plants, it's just really flickery. And ray reconstruction gets rid of that. But I would say there's definitely the image is less crisp than it is before. It is a bit of a softer image. I think it's preferable to a lot of noise, but that may be subjective there. Another thing you'll notice is that I did back and forth here because it's hard to show in a side-by-side, but ray reconstruction for diffuse lighting typically just really tightens up like contact shadows and local lighting a lot better. So if you do that back and forth here, you'll see that like underneath things, they're much more attached to the ground than they were previously. So it does a really good job at that. There weren't any of the bugs that I experienced pre this patch that I just tested out, except for one not maybe an oversight or just something that doesn't work with ray reconstruction at the moment, or maybe it won't work. I don't know. We'll figure out if they patch it. But if you look at a surface, there's a really cool raindrop effect, rain streaks effect in the rainy moments in the game on the left there. And ray reconstruction just doesn't seem to know it exists and just paints over it with, it looks like it's not even raining anymore on the surface. Probably not intended. Maybe it is intended. We'll see. But overall, performance was the exact same deficit you saw in Star Wars Outlaws, so nothing really to talk about there. But it does increase the game's fidelity by quite a bit in those areas where it was struggling the most at lower settings, I would say. If you pump this game up to unobtainium, I think the differences will be more minor in scenes because the resolution is so much higher internally for the ray tracing, but you'll still see like less ghosting and whatnot. So that's a positive. But in general, very happy to see this game being patched. I hope they do look at that little rain thing that I talked about, and maybe some other bugs that I just didn't find. Perhaps other users found bugs that I haven't found. Yeah, really awesome. Back at launch, I was really disappointed that the game didn't support frame gen on NVIDIA and instead only offered like, at the time, FSR 3 frame gen. And, you know, it's honestly just wasn't good at that period in time. And you kind of had like to choose between higher frame rates with crappier frame gen, or, you know, it's nice to see both things supported now, basically, as well as XeSS.
Let's talk about the rain for a minute, Alex. I just want to make sure there was actually rain elsewhere. You could say, you know, there was actually a rain effect there outside.
Yeah, there is.
Okay, because so that sort of rules out my thing, which is like maybe that ray reconstruction, extra patch note here, improved weather, but that's not the case.
No, this is just turning it on and off. You can see it if you look at any surface that during rain, like the raindrops still show in the air, but it's just this rain effect, this surface effect that mainly disappears. I don't know. You can feed ray reconstruction a whole bunch of different stuff, and maybe if it's not fed certain textures that it should have, it will just never even appreciate them in general. But usually it catches normal detail really well, so it is a little surprising to see it not there, but who knows. I would like to see that fixed if possible. Okay,
good stuff. Yeah, I mean, obviously whenever there's a new Avatar movie coming out, there's a great excuse for or a reason rather for Ubisoft to go back and improve the game. Why not? The game could get a new lease of life from that, and I think the more people playing this fantastic experience, the better. But what do you think, John?
This looks awesome. I'm looking at the video Alex uploaded.
Yeah.
Like, let me just tell you, while you were talking, Alex, I actually loaded up the Ubi launcher and just reinstalled the game. That's how that's
a good advertisement.
That's what it did. I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. Because so a couple things. First of all, ray reconstruction, big difference here I'm seeing. Secondly, just the addition of actual like NVIDIA's frame generation. Like this game shipped with the AMD variant of frame generation, and I always found it sucked. And it's like it always basically, if you were between refresh rate like intervals, it would show judder in a pretty bad way. I never liked the way FSR frame gen looks to my eyes, and that does not happen with NVIDIA ray reconstruction. So just adding that right there means I can use it to get higher frame rates. And I know, I mean, talking about frame generation, it always seems to make people annoyed, but like, I love it. I really think it does, like perceptually, it just looks like a higher frame rate. It just feels better. And so whenever there's an option, I like to use it on these higher end games because it does let you push up the visuals really far and still get like what feels like 165 FPS in my case. Right. And I love that. So I'm very curious to try this out because I was not able to play this with any sort of frame generation before. And things like the water and various other effects, they did like it didn't detract too much from the overall presentation, but like you notice it, right? You're just running around the world. There's a ton of this stuff around everywhere. And you just notice all those little inconsistencies over time. And I'm just eager to see it running basically cleaned up. It was the same with Cyberpunk, where that's been through a lot of iterations over the years. from launch. And then actually when the first round of Ray Reconstruction hit, I actually thought it was pretty horrible looking. Like, I liked what it was doing conceptually, but the whole image had this like AI upscaled smeared look to it that I didn't love. And then proper DLSS 4 and everything basically fixed all of that, and it looks remarkable now. So image quality upgrades are cool, and they can make a big difference. So I'm curious to see how this holds up.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited also, I like to see that this engine has has Ray Reconstruction and DLSS FG integrated in it, because they're going to be pushing probably in the future. I don't know if they'll work on another Star Wars Outlaws, but I imagine they're going to work on the next, Snowy New York game. Everyone.
The Division.
The Division.
Yeah, their prior game. Which just got updated for PS5, didn't it? It was 60 FPS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
I'm just imagining that world and art with their really new ray tracing tech. Because The Division was always a really good looking game. Maybe in some ways it wasn't as good looking as the initial trailer. That's happened. But, imagine that world with this ray tracing, like with specular reflections everywhere. And
Tom Clancy's. Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, it is a Tom Clancy game.
Yes, yeah.
No. It's a Tom Clancy's game.
Yeah.
Tom Clancy's game.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that I would love to see. I just like seeing this engine because it's one of my favorite non-Unreal Engine engines. It's really performant and it looks good. Just imagine this though. They didn't add it because it probably is crazy work, but they could have added in technically, RTX DI. Like you'd have ray trace shadows everywhere too. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. But I digress. I'm just very happy to see Avatar look even better over time.
Yeah, I also want to see Avatar on a Switch 2, just to see how they would pull it off. Because it's one of the first games, along with Alan Wake 2, I go to test a new handheld because it just punishes them hard. And then you look at Outlaw. It makes Outlaws on Switch 2 even more remarkable, in my opinion. But the challenge with Avatar is even more profound just because of all of that micro detail. But anyway, John.
Oh, I was just thinking, since Avatar won Graphics of the year it came out, it just got me thinking about Graphics of the Year again. And totally as a side tangent, one game that seemingly slipped through the cracks this year that a lot of people mentioned was the Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I'm curious, I was curious about your thoughts on that just from a visual perspective, because it's also sort of this open world thing. And I went and looked at, I've never played it until now. And I went and looked at it and I was like, oh, this actually looks like really, really great. And did we just forget about it, or do you not feel it makes the list? Or like,
I was like halfway between it. Like I was gonna suggest it in the honorable mentions, but since we kind of kept that up for Switch stuff, I was
I see.
Yeah. But the reason why is like I played it, but I don't think it advanced super hardcore over its predecessor.
I see.
Its predecessor was very good looking.
It was
for the time when it came out. But I think the thing that I really want to talk about it in the context of it, this is obviously not about Avatar, but I thought it was just a very performant port for how it looked. There were many better looking games this year than it, I thought, but I thought it was very performant for how it looked. And that is maybe a different discussion. Maybe that's a best ports video, best PC versions video, which may come out at some point this year. So everyone getting upset with me, I thought it was just a very great performing port, great performing PC version. But Svogi is great looking, but as soon as you get out of a forest, it is not as good looking.
Yeah,
and,
that's what I found visually interesting. It's like the forests and natural areas in this game do seem to look stunning, but then the non-natural areas are perhaps less impressive. Yeah.
And, other things like, the water is kind of crappy looking these days, oh no. It's a great looking game. I'm very happy we have games that take place in historical settings that don't have magic in them. But, I don't just look at it in comparison to go to a forest scene in its original and go to a forest scene in the successor title. And you'll see that there actually isn't such huge advancement, I would say, between them. And that game came out so long ago that I was just like, I mean, come on. I don't know. But it could have easily been an honorable mention, like I said. That's fine.
Interestingly, when you look at footage of him riding the horse, though, it made me think of Red Dead Redemption 2, actually, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's kind
it
of
is very looks like that.
It's very reminiscent of that. I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up because
it's good.
It got my interest in that because I had completely forgotten that this game even existed. But a lot of people said, dude, you've got to check it out. And I put it on my list, and looking at footage of it, it does look really good, I have to say. So
Yeah.
It's also a game that has real dark nights. That's another thing we talked about during our footage. Just one last little soliloquy. When I was playing Avatar to do this footage, I wasn't paying attention, and I kept trying to bring up my nanosuit modes to run faster. That tells you how broken my brain is. But also, it looks like Crysis.
You just live in Crysis world.
Yeah.
I love it.